Welcome to the Athena Wellness Podcast, the show that invites you to take a seat around the community fire and listen to stories that inspire. I'm your host, Kathy Robinson, author, coach, and founder of Athena Wellness, a company that's dedicated to supporting you on your journey to live more wholeheartedly. Today's episode is brought to you by the Athena Wellness Academy, your resource for wholehearted living. The Academy's featured offering is an online course called From Type A to Type B, How to Mindfully Descend the Corporate Ladder and Invite What's Next. This course is perfect for you if you're contemplating or navigating a professional transition, and it's available as a self-study or with a small cohort of students facilitated by me, Kathy Robinson. To learn more, I invite you to go to athenawellnessacademy.teachable.com or click on the link in the show notes. Hello and welcome. Thanks so much for joining me for this shortened Wellness Wednesday episode, a little midweek boost to help keep your warrior vibe high. Today I'm joined once again by therapist and coach Biz Cush. During this discussion, Biz shares some tools and techniques for those who are feeling anxious and overwhelmed when navigating a life transition, including ways of processing emotions. And now on to the show. I hope you find this conversation helpful. Once again, I'm joined by therapist, coach, and podcaster, Biz Cush. Welcome back, Biz.
Hey, thanks, Kathy. Thanks for having me.
So I would love to address the listener who's feeling a bit stressed and anxious in these times, maybe over a major life transition. How might they be able to explore and invite some ease as they're going through this time?
Well, I would say firstly that they're not alone. Coming out of the pandemic and the quarantine, it's left a lot of us feeling at a crossroads for maybe things shifted or you're recognizing ways in your life that don't align with you anymore. So know that you are not alone. I find personally that journaling can really help me. One, if I'm carrying a lot of overwhelm and worry and stress, having a place to put that on paper, sort of to get it out of my head, has been really, really helpful. And for some people, it can be a regular practice. For other people, it can just be a once in a while as needed. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy. It can just be like literally a brain dump, all the things that are going on that are leaving you feeling overwhelmed. I also think that hand in hand with that can be movement, getting yourself outside and walking and allowing, without music, if you can do that, without a podcast, just letting yourself walk and process. Literally moving it through your body can be just such a great relief. It doesn't have to be exercise. It can just be being in nature, noticing where you are, wherever it is, whether it's a natural environment or city or whatever it is, just being really fully present with what's happening right now in front of you versus being stuck in your head with all the stuff we carry around a lot of the time. I think those two practices can be really, really helpful, as well as therapy and coaching. I'm always an advocate for those two, but the things you can do on your own, I think those two things are really super helpful.
Yeah. You mentioned a word, processing. And so coming from, a non-therapy background that I've come from, it took me a really long time to understand what that word meant. So I think it might be helpful just to pause and just to talk about a little bit.
Yeah.
I think I was in my late 40s before I realized how what I was doing was actually processing, emotion, thoughts, experiences. unless you're aware of it, I don't think you can name it. So can you just talk about a little bit what you mean by the word processing?
Yeah. And, you could go deep with it. Like, I'm going to talk to a therapist and really get at the background of whatever it is that's going on for me and have them give me insight. Like, to me, that's a form of processing, having a better understanding of what is going on for you. But really what I meant in that moment was almost just letting it flow through you, right? Like, we hold so much tension, stress, trauma, distress in our bodies, and we sit a lot. Our culture sits a lot, whether it's through, being on social media, sitting on your phone, sitting in front of a screen, sitting because we have to for work. But moving your body can literally help sort of move the distress, the feelings through you in a much more organic, integrative way, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's very helpful. I think I didn't realize that a lot of the quote unquote processing that I was doing in my younger years was through music, as an example. Mm-hmm. So when I would hear something, a lyric or something that I heard, poetry, spoken word, would actually put names to what I was feeling. And again, I wasn't giving it this term, but that's actually what was happening.
Yeah.
After that, it was, as you said, through movement. So through running. So I'd be running on the trails while all of this stuff was circulating. And it's so, so healthy. And it's not something that we talk about in these terms. Mm-hmm. So I really appreciate that we just, took that moment to say that.
Yeah.
I think, and maybe you can help with the distinction here, the difference between holding on to something and letting it process through, because we can do both. Like, we can get caught in those circuits.
Yep.
And we can find a way for it. So can you just speak to that for a bit?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I was thinking about like processing in therapeutic terms, like, which I think for a lot of people means like you're going to sit and just talk about whatever it is that's bothering you. And yet, like, to me, there are benefits to talk therapy for sure, but we're potentially still holding it inside energetically, right? It's not releasing. And I think, to me, truly processing something is taking it in, maybe gaining a better understanding of it through a lyric or a song or a feeling. And then just, it doesn't necessarily go away, but it releases our grip on it. Mm. And I think that's so healthy for our systems. I think it's impossible to just hold it all. Like, it has to go somewhere, or we get sick, right? Or like either physically or mentally, it impacts us. And so that's why I love movement so much, because you may not even know what you're processing. It might just be your body is letting go of some of these things through the movement, whether it's dancing or walking or running or exercise. I think it's all important.
Wonderful. That's perfect. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time again. And I'm going to link up all of the things that we talked about in the show notes. And thank you again for your time, Biz. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I know there are many ways you can spend your time. Thank you for choosing to spend it with me. Until our paths cross again, be kind to yourself and show your warrior spirit some love. If you know anyone who could benefit from today's episode, please pass it on. And many thanks for supporting the show by subscribing and leaving a review. It means a lot, and it helps others find their way to our circle. If you'd like to access the show notes, have a question you'd like addressed on a future episode, or would like a transcript of this episode, visit www.athenawellness.com/podcast. Until next time, be well.